Once we get acquainted with our favorite characters in a fighting game, some of us like to focus on maximizing our character's appearance, meaning it's time to accessorize, or stick to the default costume because that's what you like the best. But for those of us who do like to choose an outfit for our character that changes their standard look, why don't we take a look at some of the best alternate costumes in fighting games that were so good, they may have made the character more appealing if those costumes were included as their default character design. This will only include costumes that have exclusively been alternate costumes for their respective characters, whether they have been alternate costumes across multiple games, only one-time alternate costumes, or a special DLC costume. So if an alternate costume in one game was once a default costume in another, like the classic Mortal Kombat 1 through 3 costumes available in Mortal Kombat 9 and Mortal Kombat X, they will not be eligible. Also, costumes that are just changes in the color palette of the default costume will not be included, even if some of the palette swaps are pretty impressive in some games. Maybe that's for another video. So let's dive into the almost overwhelming number of alternate costumes from the hundreds of options available. Maybe I should get some help for this one.
Hi.
That was Emily. She will be helping out. She may have not said much, but she'll say some more things. They'll be impactful. So let's pick our top 10 alternate costumes in fighting games. Number 10. Katana in Mortal Kombat 9. While this is not the most elaborate design, there was always something royal about this costume that I liked. She didn't have the face mask, but where she lacked fabric on her face, she gained on other parts of her body. The placement of fabric was kinda random on this costume, but it worked, except for that cumbersome flap of fabric in the rear.
The butt flap is essential. But I do have some issues with this costume. For one thing, I think the ponytail's a little excessive. Like, I don't know, it's down to her ankles. That seems like it could be a hazard in fighting. And also the sleeves. How do they work? You may never know.
Katana continues showing her fashion sense with a very different type of costume in Mortal Kombat X with the Dark Empress costume. The dark blue of this costume with the dim color palette makes her seem incredibly intimidating, worthy of the title Dark Empress. While MK9's alternate was more revealing, this one went in the opposite direction, showing that the more clothing you wear in Mortal Kombat means you're more evil. Think about it, Shao Kahn may be cooler than Shinnok, but Shinnok seems more evil, and it's pretty obvious who's more clothed in this scenario. However, don't ask me to compare any other characters, since that will completely disprove that point. Anyway, the Katana costume reminds me of another fighting game costume. The headpiece makes it look like she has cat ears, like Catwoman in Injustice. More specifically, the Arkham City costume. Just replace the eyeshadow that Catwoman has with glowing red eyes of evil. Number 9. Poison from the Summer Pack of Ultra Street Fighter IV. Plenty of characters wear semi-casual dresses in fighting games, but Poison's dress looks like one of the best. Maybe it's the drastic difference in clothing options from Poison's primary costume and this dress, or maybe it's the changes in Poison's appearance outside of the dress, which are pretty interesting. For example, Poison uses handcuffs as a hair tie to make a ponytail, which are the same cuffs from the primary outfit, which is a pretty clever way to get that one accessory into this outfit, and sometimes the cuffs are a glorious gold color. Finally, there's a leg tattoo of a design? And if you don't like this summer dress, there's always Sakura's, so there's options for everyone. Well, those two at least. Number 8. Maxie from Soul Calibur. Ever since Soul Calibur implemented the character customization and creation, people seem to forget about the actual alternate costumes of characters. However, when people aren't dressing up characters named Natsu in winter gear, making characters dress like characters from other fighting games, or just making Bulma, they can use the pre-made alternate costumes. Many of them are actually really unique. I'm choosing Maxie's costume since it has been a consistent number 2 throughout the history in Soul Calibur. Does removing your shirt count as an alternate costume? Well, there is more than just that. He wears a scarf he wouldn't need to wear to keep warm if he just left on his shirt. He also dyes his hair.
The blonde hair must take a lot of effort, because it's hard to bleach dark hair. You really gotta put a lot of time into it, and if he's doing this every time he wears the alternate costume, that's a lot of dedication.
Other than that, he adds a design on his pants, so that's kinda cool. Who else has animal designs on their pants? Natsu? Pah! We all know Maxie has seniority in this situation. Number 7. Morgan in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. While this costume seems like more casual wear, it at least has some history behind it. Morgan for over 10 years had the same unchanged sprite. I'm not talking about her look in general, but the sprite itself was from the first Darkstalkers game. It was copy and pasted into every fighting game she was in, from the first Darkstalkers until Capcom moved over to 3D graphics in Tatsunoko vs. Capcom. This meant it was impossible to change Morgan's base outfit without redrawing her. I mean, look at the quality of her sprite versus that of other characters when it was being used over 6 years after it was first drawn in Capcom vs. SNK 2. Morgan did change her outfit in intros and outros though, which is where we first saw her fashion sense. She wore outfits of all kinds. Key Pows, Night on the Town clothes, this night nurse outfit, and her business attire look. The latter Morgan wore in a good amount of Darkstalkers promotional artwork, with the pants sometimes being black and sometimes being red, with red being the official color. That being said, those are some nice pants. This outfit even made a cameo in the Darkstalkers anime OVA. Since she doesn't wear her signature bats in her hair in this costume, they have to hang out somewhere else. They usually fly by her shoulder, and sometimes one sits by her stomach, holding her shirt closed since Morgan forgets how to use buttons sometimes. That's sometimes though. In Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, the bats are absent when she's fighting since apparently they cannot keep up with her rhythm in battle. I guess they just like photo shoots. Number 6. Vampiress Molina from Mortal Kombat X. For MKX, a horror-themed costume pack was released at some point. This pack included a Kraken reptile, Mummy Ermac, and Vampiress Molina. While the other costumes were alright, this costume fit in with Molina's already great array of costumes.
I just thought this was a really good, sort of on-brand costume for Molina. Like you said, it fits her because even though she's not made of blood like Scarlet is, blood's definitely a big part of her mystique.
Number 5. Little Mac's pink jogging suit from Super Smash Bros. 4. On paper, a plain jogging suit may not sound very interesting, but there's something about the way Little Mac boxes with this pink jogging suit on that I constantly call a hoodie by mistake that makes it one of the best costumes in Super Smash Bros. Maybe it's the fact that it's a throwback to the small cutscenes we got on the NES with the original Punch-Out, or maybe it's the fact that he hides some of his face making him even more mysterious, or maybe it's just the fact that he's not afraid to rock the bright pink. The fact that this was included as an alternate costume shows that Mac's character was explored beyond basic gameplay of Punch-Out when creating him in Super Smash Bros. It's not so much an alternate costume as it is a request for Mac not to remove the hoodie before battle, since he'll always wear it in his intro regardless of the costume or color scheme you choose, only he'll make the motion of throwing it off without actually doing so when this alternate costume is selected. Little Mac is not the first fighting game character to wear a hooded costume in his alternate. Jin from Tekken always considered this style, starting in Tekken 4, where it really added to his dark side that he was having an internal fight against. Part of his face was always kept in the shadows in this costume. This look fit him so well that it actually became his primary costume in Tekken 7 with a different color scheme, after all of those years as an alternate. Balrog the Boxer in Street Fighter got an American theme, covering himself with the stars and stripes to fight with some flair with his hooded robe, similar to Mac's hooded look. Finally, Spider-Man in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 wears a hoodie akin to his counterpart, the Scarlet Spider, from Marvel Comics. Spider-Man in this costume, though, does not put up the hood, so he's not using the outfit to the fullest extent. That's why you get mentioned last in this entry. Number 4. Christie from Dead or Alive. In just Dead or Alive 5 and its updates, there are around 200 alternate costumes overall, so we could have made a few lists with just Dead or Alive costumes, but instead we're putting just one on this list to completely limit ourselves. How fun. Christie has a costume that stands out that she has had consistently as an alternate with some style alterations and some color scheme changes. I like that it looks like she's corporate casual. She seems all business, so it works. She also wears some casual summer dresses and costumes that used to be her main costumes in games of old.
I don't know how to feel about the teeth. Are they functional or are they just for fashion? Like, does she use them as a weapon? I'm just not sure. I don't think I love them.
The thing is, when you don't have a completely unique alternate costume in Dead or Alive, you get one of the other 4 types of alternate costumes. Swimwear, lots of bikinis, holiday-themed costumes, ones that remove one article of clothing from the primary costume or another alternate, and costumes that alter one small detail and change the color of the primary costume, like Helena here with her red lingerie-esque costume that changes a few other details, instead of her royal blue lingerie-esque primary costume.
See, I'm going to start by talking about her makeup here. It's very minimal, which I think is practical and appropriate for a fighting game. When you have asses to kick, you can't spend half an hour doing your makeup. And then, as far as the outfit itself, I like the giant cardigan. Cardigans are always practical.
And finally, to go back to those costumes that remove one article of clothing to create a new costume, Hitomi removes her jean jacket in Dead or Alive 4 from her primary costume to create an alternate. She goes from 90s fashion chic to someone who shops at American Eagle Outfitters. And I have to stop with the Dead or Alive examples here before this turns into a list within a list of just Dead or Alive examples. Number 3. Rose in Super Street Fighter 4. Wow Rose, do you want to have the most impractical costume to fight in? You might be winning that contest. I'm surprised her hat stays on during the fights with this costume. She even tilts it to the side, making it harder to stay on. She also has a rose on this costume, which makes too much sense. It took an alternate costume for Rose to wear a rose? I guess she thought that would be too easy, so I can't criticize that. Oh, and did I say one rose? I meant multiple roses. I guess when she goes in with wordplay, she goes in hard. Chun-Li wears a similar style of dress in her alternate costume in Super Street Fighter 4. It's not quite the same, but it matches Rose's style to an extent. They're both as elaborate, and they both have one leg exposed, for the sake of having a leg exposed in those costumes. There's also the same arm fabric on Chun-Li's costume as there is on Rose's first alternate costume in Street Fighter 4 for her thief costume. Looks like another coincidence. Are you copying someone, Chun-Li? Number 2. Anna Williams' zebra design from Tekken. Comparing the Williams sisters in Tekken, Nina always had more traditional assassin outfits in her arsenal, while Anna seemed to indulge in the elegant outerwear worthy of the red carpet, considering Anna is shown to be an actress. Sometimes. Maybe. Not really sure. That's not important right now. Anna amps up her formal wear with her alternate costume across various Tekken games, starting in Tekken 3. When she's not wearing the zebra print, she switches off to cheetah or leopard or some type of cat. This is a costume where I say forget functionality, it looks good. I'm sure fighting in fur or fake fur is not comfortable and just makes things sweatier, but she wore a full dress when fighting before this, so it's not much of a trade-off.
To me, this outfit just screams swag. Like, look at it. You got your animal print, your furs, those killer platform heels. My god, this is a work of art.
I'm actually hard-pressed to find a fighting game alternate costume similar to this one. She's truly a fashionista. She's setting the trend, not following them. The closest to Anna's love of fuzzy clothing is from the Ultra Street Fighter 4 Wild Pack, where Juri is dressed as a cheetah or jaguar, and Sagat is dressed as a tiger, or is actually a tiger. There's also Ivy's alternate costume in Soul Calibur V, but that looks more like uncomfortable gold spandex with fur wrapped around it. Mitsuru wears a full fur coat over her jumpsuit in Persona 4 Arena, but that is her primary costume. And while it's not an alternate costume or even a selectable costume, Eliza from Skullgirls changes into a fur coat in one of her win poses as she gloats. For number 1, I chose the first fighting game costume I thought of when cool or stylish was mentioned. It may not be the all-time best costume ever, or even one of these honorable mentions I'm shoehorning in here at the last second, but in my opinion, it's a great costume. Number 1. Boss Grundy in Injustice, Gods Among Us. I've always liked characters that wear full formal suits to a fight. Not sure why. It may not be very practical since it restricts movement most likely, and you probably don't want to get it too dirty otherwise you'll raise your bill at the dry cleaner, but hey, if James Bond can fight in a suit, so can a brawler. What makes the suit on Solomon Grundy look cool is the fact that he is not the type of character you would expect to see wear a suit. He's a hulking zombie who slams his opponents into the ground and bounces them like a basketball. While I like characters that generally wear suits as their primary costume, like Hazama in BlazBlue, there's something amusing about seeing a more brutish character rock the suit. Solomon Grundy's suit relates to his past life as a mob boss named Cyrus Gold. It probably helps that the suit is in tatters to reflect his zombiehood.
I have one suggestion for Mr. Grundy. Go to a big and tall shop and find some clothes that actually fit.
The only thing that ever bothered me about this costume is the fact that the flower on his chest, or the proper term boutonniere, is still alive. He enters the field by crawling out of a swamp every time. How can that flower look vibrant in the slightest after that ordeal? The explanation I can accept is it is made out of plastic, or that it's just a video game. There are a few other characters that try to look their formal best when fighting despite their more vicious appearance, like Saberwolf in Killer Instinct. They give him a more formal option instead of his normal pants. It's likely supposed to represent the time period in the Wolfman legends, so it works. Going into more standard humans that you wouldn't exactly expect to wear a suit, but it still kinda makes sense, Johnny Cage in Mortal Kombat. I mean, it's not the ideal outfit, but I like it. In Mortal Kombat 4 and his next two appearances after that, he wore a suit to reflect his acting career. And in Mortal Kombat 9, he wore a more outlandish powder blue tux with a bow tie untied. This fits Johnny since I could see him wanting to untie that bow tie as soon as he gets on the boat to the island, or not knowing how to tie a bow tie in general. Finally, Ken Masters wears a tuxedo in Street Fighter Cross Tekken. The suit probably fits him the most out of the characters from this entry since he is a businessman, but considering he normally wears exercise-friendly karate gi, it's not standard for Ken to fight in such attire. He's basically wearing the same thing as Solomon Grundy, but it's just in better shape. And Solomon Grundy doesn't need gloves, he wears the blood of his enemies as gloves. And that is why Solomon Grundy's suit is my #1 alternate costume in fighting games. So what do you think? We're aware we likely missed some of your favorites, so let us know some of your top alternate costumes in fighting games in the comments section. Thank you all for watching. If you want hints on future videos or just like to read short sentences typed out by me, you can follow me on Twitter. The handle is the same as my YouTube username. There should be a link at the top of the description for your convenience. Also, thank you to Professor Oats for capturing the footage in this video. Check him out too. He makes Super Smash Bros. Videos. Thank you again for watching. I'll linger here for a second if you want to click any of those sweet annotations for my videos or Oats' videos, or I'll just let you go and enjoy your day or evening or whatever the time of the day it is for you, and I will see you in the next video.